right, we're back from New York tonight. Kind of a serious, somber tone to the show tonight. We usually like to laugh and have a lot of fun. It's sometimes easy to do that, especially when you don't want to face the harsh realities of what's going on planet Earth these days. But I find that once you do know about certain things, at least my conscience won't let me rest until we do something about them. And that's why on my daily radio show, we take on things like the gender issues, particularly the transitioning and the detransitioning work that is going on. The administration is trying to get as many kids as possible to transition, and groups like Independent Women's Forum are saying, hey, wait a minute, that's not a good idea. Let's just put the brakes on right there. Kelsey Bolar is back with us here in hour two. And the idea that there may be 50 million human slaves or human trafficked individuals across the globe, and the need for us to step up and do something about that, to say, no, we do believe in social justice, but it's not the way we describe it here in the U.S. It's actually trying to achieve some level of justice for those caught in the injustice of it.
Absolutely. And this brings up international organizations such as the United Nations, which we should all be able to support theoretically. But unfortunately, we've seen these international organizations get weaponized and get politically corrupted to prioritize policies such as gender ideology over actual human rights, the very abuses we're talking about today: slavery, sex slavery, women being forced into child marriages. These are true international issues that need our attention, and it's unfortunate to see these international bodies that are supposed to be there for these very reasons, to protect the most vulnerable, to ensure that the worst human rights abuses that could exist will no longer exist, and unfortunately they are. I think all of these organizations need to get their priorities realigned. And look, United States and even the United Nations can't be the world's police. We can't solve all the complicated geopolitical problems that exist in these different countries where these types of slaveries do still exist. But this should be the primary focus of international human bodies. And unfortunately, I know the Biden administration, when we see them putting out press releases about the UN, it's prioritizing their own personal pet projects over actual human rights abuses. And this is actually an instance where having the first female vice president, Kamala Harris, would be nice to have her voice on a non-political issue like this, something that everybody can and should agree on. Unfortunately, we don't hear her voice much on the world stage as a strong female figure combating these types of abuses.
And women are primarily the victims of them. Friends, I just want to repeat, most of the overwhelming majority of human slavery and human trafficking is victimizing women, vulnerable women, particularly young girls. And that's why we're fighting back tonight, asking you to help us liberate one at a time. 888-342-1010 is the number, 888-342-1010. Kelsey, talk to me about how you personally were shaken by this issue when you first started looking into it.
Yeah, that brings me back to college, which used to feel not too long ago, but the times are changing. And I went in, I decided to be an international affairs major, actually, after being exposed to a lot of the abuses that were happening. I realized I was ignorant or naive, combination of both, on a lot of these issues. And I realized, as a member of the most free society in the world, a woman no less, I had an opportunity, perhaps even an obligation, to use my voice to speak out about the true human rights abuses that women face worldwide. That doesn't mean women here in the United States can't walk and chew gum at the same time. Certainly injustices do still exist, but there's a big difference between an injustice and an inequality. And that's what we're talking about here, inequalities that women face on the world stage and all these different types of enslavements that are still occurring. And too often I see the liberal feminists in the United States equating injustices with inequalities. And that's what needs to change. And sure, yes, I am all for fighting injustices, but it's inequalities that we need to focus on, because these are the worst types of inequalities. And the fact, again, I repeat, that they're still happening in the year 2023 is an atrocity.
It's not just that they are happening, friend. Those of you watching and listening, it is that they are happening worse than they ever have. At over 50 million people globally held in captivity of some sort. And we can't solve all of that. As Kelsey just said, there's no way. But what we can do is align ourselves with organizations that are doing the right thing. And I was very proud that Christian Solidarity International led the way in leading the governments of the world to end the Sudanese civil war when it did. It got President Bush's administration at the time involved, and they created the newest nation on earth, South Sudan, out of that. But there was no interest in the countries that were involved to say that the slaves had to be liberated. And so Christian Solidarity International has continued to work in Northern Sudan, and one by one, over the last number of years, helping see more than 100,000 slaves set free. About 185,000 was the max that we believe were in captivity at the highest peak. Over the last several years, you and your friends watching this, being part of this, listening to my shows, we've helped liberate more than 3,000 just with our little universe of people. So thank you for your faithfulness. But friends, there's 192 that we've identified, and we need your help. We need it right now. It's 888-342-1010, or you can go online to bringherhome.org. $250 liberates and sets free with an entire start over kit for them that we call the Bag of Hope. It includes food, shelter, a she-goat for commerce and nutritional dietary value, etc. But we need your help. 888-342-1010. Go right now.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough.